Welcome to Of Seed and Soil, unincorporated voices of farm, food, and freedom. I am Sommer Sibilly Brown, and I am your host. If you're just joining us, this season, our first season of Seed and Soil, is really an introduction to really meaningful conversations and uplifting the voices of farmers, fishers, elders, healers, people who are with the land and work the land. And today I have the privilege of having with me a friend and a farmer who I've been working with for a long time, and her name is Shelli Brin.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Shelli Brin with Que Sera Farms, a familiar friend and face in the farming community in both St Croix and St Thomas. So yes, I'm so excited about this. If any time there was to get involved in agriculture, is now. So thank you so much for having me. Excited to talk.
Shelli, I think, so I know you really well, but I would love, one of the reasons we have this show is to reveal the first layer, right? Shelli's a farmer. But what else is Shelli, right? Like you just said, okay, Que Sera Farms, farming on St. Thomas, also have farming history on St. Croix, but who is Shelli Brin?
That's a great question. And I'm okay to say that I'm still uncovering that. It's a life journey. You know, we're all on to discover who we are and our role in this world. I'm so blessed to have lineage here in the islands. I go back several generations. But where to start? So I asked my brother, how do you guys define me? How do you describe me? Because I'm trying to find a way to put me in a category. If I was to fit in a category, what would you guys say I do? And they said entrepreneur. I said, okay, yeah, that gonna work.
Yeah. So
that's a good
so
one.
You are let me put it this way. Shelli, how long have we known each other? Maybe 14 years more?
Yeah, I would say so.
And it's strange. I want to put our story on the record because Shelli and I know each other 14 years, but our families have known each other from since your grandfather came to the Virgin Islands.
Yeah, and so one of my favorite phone calls that I've ever gotten from you was that day that you call and you say, Shelli, you ever hear of a man named Hippolyte Brin? And I said, well, yeah, that's kind of strange. Yeah, I know him pretty well. That's my grandfather. How are you calling me from St. Croix asking me about my grandfather over here? And so, yeah, you were looking through archives in St. Croix, right?
Yes, I was at Landmark Society and I was looking through archives. And it was strange because Shelli and I had just met and we met on the farm. So it was okay, St. Tomian. And maybe 6 months later, I'm looking through these archives and I see John Joseph Sibley, who's my great-grandfather. And in the paperwork, he has a ward, right? A person that he's caring for named Hippolyte Brin. So I said, Shelli, you know this person? And you were like, that's my grandfather.
And so the significance of that is we are so connected in the Virgin Islands. We're connected to the other Caribbean islands, but we're really integrated here. And when I asked my dad, I was like, Dad, you know who Joseph Sibley was? He said, yeah, that was my godfather. I said,
correct. And then when I asked my dad, my dad started talking about Cassie and my uncle Eddie happening to live downstairs in the apartment by your house. And really this very close rearing of our parents and our families and our grandparents having this integration. And Shelli and I had never met until 14 years ago, to uncover that we are closer than we ever could imagine.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd call it the power of Frenchy women, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Frenchy woman power circle, we found each other.
And some of the beautiful parts of the connections of our experiences here with St. Thomas, with us, with the Frenchy community through St. Bart's, is the story of how they even arrived in St. Thomas. There was a famine that was happening in St. Bart's that was a little rough. And even the story of how our ancestors arrived in St. Bart's was pretty rough as well. It wasn't a glamorous path as some of the other European lineages with the slave trade. So the way that our French arrived, they survived being, I guess you could say, kicked out of France.
Yep.
It's a story that not a lot of people know about. Like, we have so much history in the Caribbean. we still need to discover more and talk more about it, because we still have so much to learn from it. So anyways, so they arrived through an indentured servant situation. There was a feudal system in Europe. A lot of wealthy landowners with a lot of peasants that lived on lands that did not own their lands, that farmed it. Sharecroppers, just in all different forms. We've been down this road before. And political refugees, religious refugees, they arrived into a pretty dire situation, and the way that they survived those dark times was together.
The way that they survived those dark times were together.
Yeah.
And our together happens to start way before Shelli and I were born, right? But together in the north side of the island of St. Thomas.
Yeah.
With farming, subsistence, and boat for market, right? As an anchor, farming and fishing, actually.
That's right.
As an anchor. And
Yeah.
here we are today, across from each other, talking about Shelli, the farmer.
Yes.
But you're also a businesswoman.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, I tell you what, one of the beautiful parts of having agriculture in your life and as part of your career, your profession, your side hustle, full hustle, is that it is from agriculture that the rest of life can actually grow on, whether it's sending your kids to school or being able to have good networking events. Like, having your foot in the soil gives you the ability to grow into whatever direction you want to go. That's why the seed of the soil is like, oh, this is like, we're going to the root of things here.
Oh, we hope to, right? We hope to go to the root of things because, like, so many times people talk about the Virgin Islands where we live, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and they're like, oh, well, sand and sea, come to the Virgin Islands because we have sand and sea. And I'm like, we do. But we also have seeds and soil. And we were known at one time as the bread basket of the Caribbean. And like, I have a storied kind of like how we interpret that in terms of production. Maybe not because it was a monocrop agriculture vibes, but we made Denmark wealthy. We were a robust part of the slave trade, and that comes from our soil. But there's other things that come from our soil.
Yeah.
And so you didn't mention your second business.
Oh my God. Okay, so yes. Okay, so a little bit about what I do. I have Que Sera Farms, and I do mostly bees and eggs. I do a lot of soilless farming because my land in St. Thomas, I do also consulting for other property owners, for the private sector as well. I do beekeeping. I also do apiary consulting, all sorts of good stuff. But my little plot of land that I does work with, it all rock.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, really, Ja? This the piece you gonna give me? Of all the spaces and places, and I could grow, you gonna give me this rockiest little part to the island? Like, what is this?
You don't need soil.
Okay, challenge accepted. So anyways, so I do a lot of soilless farming while I build up my soil. So right now, that's why I do a lot of bees and chickens. I need the manure, and I need the sweetness to get me through the tough times.
So I want to, like, you said something that I think is super important. You say you do a lot of soilless farming. And I feel like my ding, 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 all the alarms went off. I was like, because I don't think I've heard anybody coin a phrase as soilless farming. And so I want people to pick that up if you're listening, right? Soilless farming. And then you talked about the chickens and you talked about the bees. So apiary, right? Beekeeping, that we could consider that soilless farming. You don't need soil to raise chickens.
Correct. And you also don't need your own land to do those two types of agriculture. You can lease land. You can approach a neighbor, a relative, the government, a business, a government agency with unused spaces, and you say, can I rent this space and put up some hives?
But you also said, Shelli, that you're doing this soilless farming to build soil. So how can we stop and talk a little bit about how are you building soil?
Let me tell you, we cannot lose track of our soil. We need to have land access, and we do need to own land, and we do need to farm in the ground. So yes, this is nice, the stuff that I do, but we can't lose track of the importance of the relationship and the lessons and the wealth that comes out of actually planting directly in the ground. Like, we need to maintain that. And to me, that's one of the dangers of aquaponics, hydroponics, and even to indoor farming. One of the things that we have to be really cautious of in the Caribbean is removing systemically Caribbean people from their land, the hundreds of acres, the tens of acres, and then trying to sell the millennial population, oh, you could make a living and send your children to school off of a little indoor space.
I want us to talk about this because, my gift is the recap, right? And what I heard you said is that what we're being introduced to in terms of modern and urban agriculture, right? Aquaponics, hydroponics, indoor growing,
They all have
right?
their place.
They all have a place, but there is a caution that we have to have in terms of the removal or misplacing the idea that you don't need access to land and you don't need access to soil to grow food. And it may not be the intention, but we have to be cautious because with things like gentrification, generational land stewardship, right? The thought that the next generation could just build an indoor farm is one of the pathways, that slippery slope, where we could then also feel like we can release the land that we have.
Correct.
Because we feel like we're going to make more money or have more efficiency growing something indoors rather than developing a relationship with our land and soil.
Yes. And we're seeing in a lot of Caribbean economic plans for different governments, we're seeing a lot of introduction in hydro towers, aquaponic farms, and all these beautiful things that are very input intensive, require a lot of plastic that's going to pollute our ocean and our land, and our landfills are already struggling. And we're already seeing the negative effects with the labor force. Can we train up our labor force to just do hydroponic? Because that's a little rough. But I will say other parts of the world, including just as our next door neighbor, Florida, I can skip some of the islands and go straight to Florida. They have beautiful farmlands that reminded me that, oh yes, this was one of the basic ways to build wealth, by having a 100-acre farm, a 200-acre farm, a 300-acre farm. Oh yeah, wait a minute, why are they selling us this little pipe? What? Not me. Why are they selling the next generation this little pipe
Shelli,
dream?
like, not me. Shelli, like, should you clarify? I have not bought your pipe dream.
Why are you trying to sell me this pipe dream when I walk into one of these ag meetings that I could start a farm on less than a quarter acre?
So you drop a whole bunch of gems. You drop a whole bunch of gems. First of all, so one, Shelli, you named the fact that, like, land is precious. Can I ask you how much land you're farming right now?
Oh, I'm farming a very small piece right now. Right now, I'm farming probably like 1 acre. And I'm in the process of expanding to some of the other acres. My goal is I have a little 5-year plan. So while I build up my soil in about 5 years, my goal is to expand to about 20, 30 acres, whether it's next to me, my family land, or other land. And so that's, part of my goal.
So my question then was, and I think you answered it, but I want to clarify, is this land that you're leasing, land that you own, land that someone has, let's say, hey, go ahead and use it? Because we know in the Virgin Islands, St Croix is 84 square miles, St Thomas is...
I don't know.
32?
I don't know, 20-something.
It's about 30, but like we're talking, and I'm bringing up the square miles, and I think like St. John is like 19 or 10, right? Because I need the listening audience, if you've never lived on an island or visited an island, right, to realize that land is actually quite finite, right? And the 100-acre farm is far and removed from the experience of the average farmer. But in this day and age, so is land ownership.
Yeah, and one of the things that I would love to expand, the entrepreneur in me, one of the things that I would love to, yes,
entrepreneur in me.
is I want to get into sheep production. One of the challenges that I have is that well, at least with cows, it's recommended 5 acres per cow to have a sustainable system. With sheep, the average is about 5 per acre. So to have like a good herd that can actually generate some good income, if I wanted just 30 sheep.
Yeah, you need what, 6 acres?
Yeah.
Approximately 6 to 10 acres. But you need more than that, right?
Yeah,
because we're not talking about...
Also need a functioning abattoir.
We're going to get to that. So people understand, because we would want to do a rotational grazing practice, right?
That's right.
So if
all the practices that the continent is preaching to our islands, I would love to do those things.
We need land. We need land. So, back to the question. So, are you on family land right now?
I am blessed to have family land, but also just in general, something that we have in common with the U.S. is that we have an aging population, and we're having massive land loss right now. The ownership of land is transitioning really fast. We're looking at the highest turnover of land ownership in like this next 10 years, pretty much.
And the danger of that is that if the next generation, to your point, one, in like a recession economy, don't understand the value of land, right? And don't understand like how it appreciates, not depreciates, right? And you in a pinch and a bind, and we have hurricane recovery, which has a lot to do with development. And it's like you're hearing there's a housing shortage. We need to build more of this and more of that. And somebody coming to offer you a deal in this moment that seems like a really like sweet bread kind of moment. Like, take it.
Yeah.
That land, the transfer of the stewardship of the land, and then the conditions we're living in the Virgin Islands could mean more Virgin Islanders releasing the very land that you were just advocating that we still have relationship with. I want to go to the next thing. You've been dropping gems, and I try and keep track of them. The next thing you talked about was, just to bring us back, you were saying if we look at hydroponics and aquaponics as a means of growing food, why do you think it's so attractive to people right now?
Well, who's it attractive to?
Well, I mean, you referenced it being in policies and governments, right?
Yeah.
So, like, why do you think our leaders are pushing this hydroponic, aquaponic kind of movement? Do you think it's like pharmaceuticals where just somebody package it and sell it to them really well?
Can I be really just scandalous and say it's because they can't cut it on the land?
Yeah, don't be,
because they done so lost all of their skills on how to actually tend soil and ocean. That the only thing that they could picture is I could manage it from behind a screen. I think that's one of the reasons why they're pushing a lot of these hydroponics. We can't even get them to support existing farms, let alone hydroponic projects.
I don't think it's scandalous to name that as one of our truths. So I feel like naming it is important.
Yeah. The other thing too is as I said before, if there's ever a time to get involved in agriculture, is now, especially for women. I think next year is the UN's Women of the Farmer, Year of the Woman Farmer. Next year, 2026, I think so. And it's exciting. This is an exciting time. Okay, where do I even begin to my women that are interested in agriculture that are from the Caribbean? Let me tell you something. We have so many skills that are natural to us that we don't realize how strongly they have a place in agriculture. Like, we have such good ability to grow stuff, provide life, and have things manifest tenfold. You know, that if you apply it into the world of natural resources that could regenerate itself versus other industries that are just consumption-based, like, this is the time for women to get into agriculture. And the places of most challenges and struggles, those are the places of the most opportunities.
So, again, gems dropped. The places of most challenges and struggles are the places that have the most opportunities in this moment, right?
Yep.
And when we look at what the challenge is in the
Yeah.
Virgin Islands, a challenge, a historical challenge has been food insecurity. We talk about importing 98% of our food. I don't know. It
Yeah.
seems like it's been for our whole lives.
Yeah.
So that's a massive opportunity.
Very much so.
And you're inviting women into it.
Oh yes. Okay. So moreover, I was just visiting a farm in Florida that was run by a woman, a certified organic farm, beautiful permaculture. She had the most beautiful farm store. In walks a family, grandmother, mother, and daughter. She looked like she was 18 years old, and she pulls the young girl, the 18-year-old, aside, and she says, "Oh, look at all of the stuff that you can make. I know that you guys like, the stuff that I'm growing.
Yep.
You should like consider like taking some of these things and adding value to it. Create a value-added product from the things that you're buying." And the little girl was just like, "Oh, that's nice." And I pull her aside. I said, "Listen, she just give you a gem, just so you know, what she just taught you, if you didn't catch it, was the difference of being a consumer and a producer. Right now, you're a consumer. Where's all the wealth? Where's all the power? Is in converting to being a producer. Produce something with yourself and with your life." And then it started to sink in. And then the lady was like, "Huh, I like you."
Well, me and the lady have something in common because I like you too. And we live in, let's name it like the United States of America, not just the Virgin Islands. We are a consumer society, right? We participate in the global economy, but how we have positioned ourselves, right? We think it's the puppet master where we're buying all of your goods,
Yeah.
but in this time that is actually at a deficit. So we need to switch to production mode. And the primary place where Shelli and I, like outside of, I feel like this genuine love we have for each other, because you're an amazing person. Like the light that she's giving
the
off
bees.
is the bees?
Yeah, it's the sweetness from the bees that rubs off.
Yeah, like just like one of the sweetest and most hospitable people I know is you, Shelli. But you're also one of the most consistent and progressive and dynamic, right? Like you keep changing. So, and when I say keep changing, not changing as in becoming something different, iterating on your value system for locally grown, for food, for running businesses, for being on that production end. From it's not just from the bees and the chickens and the eggs, it's running a small market. Shelli, we haven't even talked about, and we need to introduce the fact that you used to coordinate a market in St. Thomas.
So much to talk about.
Because you do so much. You're pretty prolific, right? But like, what did it take to coordinate?
I'm a producer.
What did it take to coordinate that market in St. Thomas, right?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so another thing about transitioning, my dear Caribbean women people, and all of us, from consumers to producers, we have the most opportune time in history to make this shift because we have a baseline that's solid. So because I have, am blessed to have multi-generational experiences, it's just not an expat experience of moving to an island and wanting to get into food. Like, no, like this is my way of life. This is my culture. My culture is rooted in the food from the land and from the sea. And that is one of the most amazing strengths we have right now as Caribbean people, is our baseline is still rooted in our land and our sea.
Like we do this for real.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not an experiment,
Yes.
it's not a prototype. Like
Oh my God.
multi-generationally, this is in your genes.
It's true. And there's so many stigmas around agriculture that exist in the Virgin Islands because of our US experience that don't exist in the other islands and in other countries and other places of the world. Farming is like a revered, respected profession.
Well, I think that that's really personal for me because I think that they are trying to teach it and indoctrinate it out of us, right? Like, so for instance, one of the reasons I think that aquaponics and hydroponics, and again, I don't have anything against them personally, but the danger, the slippery slope is that we tell people you are more of a business farmer if you get into these industries. So we devalue the person who's on the tractor. We devalue the beekeeper. We devalue the fisherman. We devalue all these other people in the industry because it's not in an AC room with a computer. We only value, we're teaching our children to only value one form of technology. We don't see Hugo culture as technology. We don't see our ancestral ways as technology anymore.
That's right.
And so when you talk about being a multi-generational Virgin Islander and a person who has access to land and sea, Bastille days are a real thing in our blood, right? You're going to be underwater from young.
Whether it's calm or rough.
Whether it's calm or rough. We now are telling people to move away from that so that you can be seen as what is professional. So you could be seen as what is accomplished, right?
So you could be a real estate agent selling off our land.
Or you could be the kind of farmer that is a business person rather than every farmer is a business person. And we ourselves are swallowing the rhetoric.
Yeah, and so one thing to keep in mind, and I'm just so excited about this podcast and its ability to reach the audience and new audiences to be involved and included in this problem-solving conversation that we're having, just in general, not just between you and me, but in our islands right now in this day and age. Our problem-solving conversations is we need to be realistic about our system designs that have been unsustainable, that have not been for people, that have been for profit. And so we still have to recover, and we have to deal with new fronts of a colonial style economy that comes in and that's just exploitive, that is here just to extract resources, whether it's in agriculture, real estate, the medical profession, like all of them. We have to actually be honest that the systems are designed for that. So if we could be real about what that is, then we could actually have real solutions that stick and that we can grow with and build on. And to me, one of the things that I want to make clear, whenever I get into conversations about being a local and being an expat, there's one thing that I am seeing, about the expat community to the Virgin Islands and to the Caribbean. One thing that they all have in common is that they're coming with an energy of they want to be a part of something. They want to feel alive again, whether it's on vacation or whether they want to have a snowbird house, or whether they want to just be able to come and live here and raise their family. They're all coming with this element of wanting to be a part of something.
Can we be real though? Because I feel on my end like they all want to be part of something, but they don't want to be part of the somethings that exist here.
And I think part of the reason or part of the problem is because we haven't defined what our something is. We have lost track of how to grow our economy because we're having so much influxes.
People.
I don't know what should our community be like? What are our shared values? That's why I'm so fascinated by these conversations of this 6th Constitution Convention.
And I wonder how much of those conversations will include things that foster safety of land, like legally. Like let's name it. Part of the issue is that. So the name of this podcast is Unincorporated Voices because we're unincorporated territories, right? Like there is a way in which we are impacted by our status that doesn't allow us to do the protective things that may be best for people, right? And so when you were talking about like profit over people, I was like, there's also something magical about or necessary about the consideration of place. Because I think that people who are moving here, people who are visiting here, people who want to have some shared relationship with here, they keep treating the Virgin Islands like it's a blank slate. They keep treating the Virgin Islands like, like when you in Adobe Photoshop and you use the magic erase one, like you have a picture and you erasing something out of it, stop it. You cannot apply a Canva app to the Virgin Islands and just keep the images, pieces that you like, and the other part that you don't find meaningful for you. You erase because you don't understand the value of how it got there. And so food is something and agriculture is something that they're erasing, and the they is us. The they is not actually the visitors. So I don't want to put that on them. I feel like the they is our current leadership. So I want to ask you a difficult question, Shelli. I'll put you on the spot.
Oh God, already.
Because it's not difficult, but it's a place to be honest, right? What do you think the biggest challenge in agriculture is for the Virgin Islands right now?
Ooh, what is the biggest challenge?
Like, what's the thing that gets in your craw, that gets you pissed, that you like, I could clearly see this as a problem?
Okay. I might answer this. I may not name it as like a problem, but I'm going to name it as where we really need to focus in our resources.
That's perfect.
Okay. This stems from my truck being hit by a drunk driver and it's sinking my whole farming operation for like a good year and a half, right? Okay, so the transportation sector, the ability to move food, the ability to transport it at a reasonable cost, to me, is the area that hampers the most. I have a lot of experience in markets, in the selling of food. You had asked me earlier, from CSAs to traditional farmers markets to online farmers markets to institutional programs, government contracts. Like, I have a pretty good amount of experience in the selling of food.
Can we also pause and tell people you don't have a marketing degree?
Oh, yes, and I also have a marketing degree.
You have a marketing degree. So,
yeah, I should do like a formal, like, oh, these are all my skills. But yes, to me, the transportation industry is the public works, the ability for us to trade, sell, and move food between islands, between districts, and within our own island is where we really need to focus in on. Not general resource systems for the entire population. Yes, we all need our roads paved. Yes, I understand that. But no, like, we actually need to find ways to transport our products better across the islands. God bless all these nice little grants is about getting a vehicle. Can we talk about the fact that the vehicle can get mashed up in about a year and a half, suspension have to change, and you can't find a mechanic, and if you do the parts, you can't get it for like a year?
But can we talk about, so you talking about that, and just so, again, if you've ever been to the Virgin Islands, right, like, we're also talking about, like, we have shoddy road systems, right, that are hard on our vehicles.
Yes. But there are places like St. Kitts that has like a inter-country like train system.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There are other parts of the Caribbean that are working on creating systems to transport stuff that doesn't require fossil fuel all the time.
That's dope.
Yes.
I want to look into it and learn more.
Oh my God. The other islands are doing incredible stuff. And for those who are like, to the US Virgin Islands audience, we don't realize it, but we are very much isolated away from what the other islands are doing. And that has to do with us being unincorporated, as well as we are not allowed to join CARICOM. And there are other initiatives that are just happening in these islands that are cutting edge, that are amazing, that if only we knew what they were doing, then we could find models that could work on our islands. And then we could network better.
So I want to share with you that VI Good Food has, we have taken up that charge. So last year we wrote a grant called Island Response, Recovery, and Resilience, and it was funded by the Island Spirit Fund, which many people know as Cruise and Rum. Through Global Giving, right? It's part of their disaster recovery.
Yeah.
And what that grant is for, it is to begin to build relationships, farmer to farmer relationships across our islands. It is to begin to understand how we develop mutual aid on island and in between islands, because with the climate changing, right? We actually need people who know each other's farms, who know each other's terrain. I know how Shelli doing soilless farming. So if Shelli is impacted, a group of us could come to help Shelli, because the truth is unfortunately the FEMA process and the disaster recovery process and the USDA processes don't meet farmers' immediate needs. And we're not saying that they haven't been helpful at all. I think they're really hard systems to use. And if your farm get hit in today and it's your only way of surviving and you need a 90-day turnaround to begin, one, to get the help you need, a brigade of people coming from North Carolina or Vermont, as helpful as they might be, like, or as well intentioned as they might be, is not as helpful as people who live in this region, who custom to the weather, who custom to sun, who custom to mosquitoes, and who know how to farm in rocks, who know how to terrace, who know the real challenges, right? And it's culturally not it's culturally not as challenging for somebody to come from another island and be here versus somebody come from like the States.
Yeah.
So we see that. We took 8 farmers to Vieques.
That's awesome.
We're getting ready to take.
Was that recently?
Mhm.
Okay, nice.
Like 2 weeks ago, we're getting ready to select who will go to San Andreas, Colombia, and people from Vieques will be there as well. We had people from Jamaica, people from Barbuda, people from Mexico, people from Colombia, and this was put on. We were just a partner with La Colmena Cimarrona, which is a collective of farmers in Vieques, right? So we're like putting our work together, and now they paired us up with the Rizal Youth, which is the African Colombian people of San Andreas network. And so like we are patching it together. So you are welcome to join us, Shelly.
Awesome.
Let me know. August 2nd to the 6th. You think about it.
I would like some bamboo slips from Colombia. That would be nice. But anyways.
So to your point.
But that's awesome. And that's so important for us to network. Some things that U.S. Virgin Islanders may not realize is that other islands have things like collectives. There's this beautiful initiative right now in the CARICOM Islands to be the first blue zone, blue economic zone, not just a blue island, a whole blue zone.
What is a blue zone?
Oh man, it's an economy based off of the ocean that has sustainable practices on land and in sea. So that's my summary.
This is good because if any Virgin Islander, and I know more than Virgin Islanders, hopefully will be watching this podcast. So if you're not from the Virgin Islands, please look us up. And we have Vision 2040.
Okay.
And in Vision 2040, I do believe part of what we were trying to establish is a blue zone, right? Or at least a blue economy. The parts that I don't know, and so I'm prefacing is as I'm not sure that we have the sustainability measures in. I'm not sure we're looking at like circular economy principles. Yeah. I'm not sure if we as a territory are networking with other islands. But in 2040, there's an agriculture component and there's a blue economy component. And it would be beautiful if we could, on multiple levels, right, connect with the other Caribbean islands because I'm going to use what I think is a very crucial saying. We are neither fish nor fowl, right? In terms of, yes, we are the United States Virgin Islands, but we are thousands of miles away and geographically closest to Puerto Rico, but both of us, we are not connected to our national moniker, right? In the Caribbean, because we have the title U.S. Virgin Islands, we have been annexed geographically, right? We sit in the Caribbean, but we don't have the Caribbean relationships because we are divided by national status. Some people might call it colonial status, right? Like our colonizers or former colonizers now have separated this region, which is connected by water, right? To make the water feel like a divide. And so it's like
we didn't put that line there, by the way. I just wanted to make.
So that's not. You're right. That ain't our line, but that's the line that it feels like stopping us from operating together.
For other Caribbean islands and other parts of the world that aren't familiar with us, somebody put the international line right between our communities. I mean, we are related some way or the other, and somebody put an international border line between us and tell us, but we gotta stop this relationship.
So between Shelly and I, if we name it, right, where do your grandparents come from and your forefathers? What spaces?
Yeah, so my ancestry, I go back 3 generations St. Thomas. Before that, 5 generations Tortola. I'm also a Bolonga. And the first documented ancestor of mine that I have any record or trace of, which I'm so blessed to have even gotten the names. And I encourage every Caribbean person to do your research and look for the names of your ancestors. It's beautiful that we even survived, and that it's thanks to them. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to find their names and honor them. My first documented ancestors arrived in St. Croix.
What is their names? Say their names.
They
We
were-
call them ancestors.
Yes, the ancestors were assigned the name Niles,
Okay.
and they were in a census in a free gut area in Christiansted.
Wow. That's beautiful. And so my family lineage is St. Kitts.
Okay.
My mom's dad is from St. Kitts. William Florian Glassford, he was like the Minister of Agriculture at one point there. And then St. Bart's, right? That's where John Joseph come from. And Antigua,
Okay,
that's
nice.
where Fenella and her family come from.
Okay.
And Seba, that's where Bernie's family, right? So like as we're here in the Virgin
Yeah.
Islands, and in many ways don't have the modern connections, but our roots are truly Caribbean.
Yeah.
And so when we think about food sovereignty, we really have to think about it as a region. So what you're
It's
bringing up
true.
about connecting back, our role in CARICOM, but
Yeah.
our role in learning from each other, that's super powerful,
Yes.
Shelly.
Well, let me tell you what some of the exciting things are happening in CARICOM
Okay.
that are getting me excited. I would love for you guys to look into it some more. I love this concept of the blue zone. I love the concept of getting our economies to be carbon neutral. I forgot which island, it might be the BVI, but there's this island that's working on designating its seabed as a carbon zone towards showing they're offsetting their carbon emissions. I was like, oh, that's kind of clever.
But it is offsetting carbon emissions.
Yeah, because it's a seabed, seagrass.
I want people to know that the reason why that's important is because globally, where people are working on and have built a carbon economy where carbon credits, right, can equal money because there is a charge to
Yep.
offset carbon and also to regenerate things. So, okay, your
Yep.
seabed being
Yep, and Guyana is taking the charge on reducing imports. I think it was supposed to be 25% by 2025, so they've now extended it to 2030. Guyana being in CARICOM is, I think it's the only official country that supplies enough of its food for its population.
wow.
Yeah, I just saw this recognition. I thought it was amazing. So they're a food neutral country. They're a food plus, and they're working on the
Food plus.
infrastructure for a carbon credit type of economy in Guyana, which is beautiful.
So, Shelly, as we're going to begin to wrap this up and
Oh my God,
kinda
we have
like-
so much to talk about.
You don't have to come back, Shelly. Like, so here's
Like,
the
pick a
thing.
topic.
I'm looking at the camera and I'm telling everybody, Shelly will be back. Shelly will. You see this, right?
Let's focus in on some major specific topics.
So I will. So no, seriously.
Yeah.
I want to invite
We
you
could talk
back.
about seed, or we could talk about soil,
And
or
we
just,
could pick.
you know.
We can pick a topic and just like.
Yeah.
And just zone in. Like
Yeah.
I would be happy to have you back.
Oh my God.
So don't worry. So,
So much
people,
good stuff to
Shelly
talk
will be
about.
back. And this is like this is what it sounds like when we're talking off camera. Anyway, so I got a real summer
man.
Shelly experience this morning.
Let me just support you in that. If you guys are interested in agriculture, if you're connected in any way, or you want to get connected, like this is the podcast to tune into. This is a great time to be just part of this local food movement. It's more than just a movement, it's a way of life, and it's moving from just sustaining what we got going on to moving into regenerative forms of communities that we really want to see in the future.
Well, and so I want everybody to know, I didn't mean like rap like she had to go. I mean like rap like I was going to ask her the last 3 questions, but I love the selling point. She was like, yo, follow
Listen.
this podcast. If she said this is my last time, like do the thing. No.
If I don't see 10,000 subscribers by July 15th, I'm coming for you. I'm going to check your phone.
No, but so what I was going to ask you as we wrap, like
Yes.
and we close the conversation gently, what is, it's 2 things. What is your greatest hope that we realize in this moment that you keep saying is a moment? If Shelly had her wish, right? If Shelly had her wish, 10 years from now, I don't care how far, you could go 100 years from now. if you had a magic wand and one wish Shelli had that could happen, what would it be? What would we look like when it comes to food?
You can give me like advance notice to work on this kind of answer. This is
You're
like a
so
complicated
brilliant. I
question.
was like, what's
Okay.
my advance notice? The girl brilliant.
Well, I will say this. I am right now in a vibe of developing markets for myself and for St. Thomas and potentially some connections with the other islands. Right now is the most significant window that we have had in a very long time to establish new trade routes in the Caribbean. And so my goal these next couple weeks, and potentially I can help contribute to this legacy of us reconnecting our trade routes. This time it's aimed for exporting our resources, but it's for our own people, and it's to build our Caribbean community and a Caribbean economy. Like, that's what I want to be a part of. That's what I want all of us to be a part of. And I think part of it is going to be reconnecting with our family members that have the land still, that have access to ocean too. It's going to be reconnecting between farmers between different islands. It's going to be getting the transportation sector to really fit in now in this new set of trade routes that we need to develop. And that's what I think will lay the groundwork for us to grow on. Let's reestablish our trade routes. Let's reconnect in a way that we never have before, that was for our Caribbean, that will make this next 10, 20 years our time.
Shelli, what a beautiful wish. And not just beautiful, but plausible, right? The establishment of trade routes. I hope that your magic wand and the work that you do actually can be born in our lifetime, because it's beautiful and meaningful, and I want to be connected to my family.
Yeah.
Before we tell people bye-bye, look at the camera and tell them how they can find you.
Yes. Well, it's been such an honor being here with you. I'm so excited about what this is not just going to mean for you and for this network, but I'm excited for your audience. And I encourage them to follow up on everything that they're going to be exposed to. If you get a chance, don't just listen to the podcast. Make sure you actually spend some time, listen to these topics, write down some notes, do your follow-up research, make your contacts. And I would love to stay in touch with your beautiful audience. In order to do that, you can visit my website, Que Sera Farms, www.queserafarms.com. I have an email list. If you're interested in signing up for produce, that's great. I also have an email list. If you're interested in food networks, if you're interested in trade routes, if you want to keep the conversation going and be involved in our work of just food advocacy for a better tomorrow in the Caribbean, visit the website. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I try not to be. I don't want you on there too much. Come join us out in the gardens. Come join us on the farms. Volunteer. Look for agriculture jobs and support what's going on in your island.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Seed and Soil, Unincorporated Voices of Farming, Food, and Freedom. You spent the last hour with me and Shelli, or you spent I don't even know how long it's going to be, but you spent time with me and Shelli this morning. And I just really want to encourage you, one, hit the like button, subscribe, do all the things Shelli said. And if you have an opportunity, I want you to think about what your call to action can be from this. So if you have $10, right, get in your car, go find a farmer, go spend some money. If you are a parent and you have kids, buy some seeds, start a garden, come out to agricultural opportunities, come out to agricultural events, right? Just keep in touch. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.